Following the relaxation of COVID-19, businesses in China's Wuhan are facing new concerns. Infections are giving many small businesses in China's central city of Wuhan a new kick in the teeth, despite the easing of most stringent controls last week. With the sick and those afraid of infection staying at home, hopes for better prospects after the lockdowns are fading, at least for the time being, with the government showing few signs of stepping in to help. "I simply can't go on," Zhu Chongping, 60, said as he looked around his empty restaurant, which serves regional cuisine in the 11 million person city where the COVID-19 pandemic began 3 years ago. "I lose money every day, 1,000 yuan. The problem for small business owners like Zhu highlights how Beijing's shift away from tough COVID policies, which promise to drive an economic recovery next year, is likely to depress growth in the coming months as infections rise. Business on what would normally be a bustling food street was the worst it had been since Zhu first opened his doors to customers 30 years ago, he added, looking forlorn. The outlook after zero COVID was lifted following unprecedented protests, he said, is even bleaker than during the city's 76-day lockdown in 2020, because his landlord is not offering a rent reduction this year. Rent subsidies and consumer vouchers were among the measures implemented by local governments to help businesses at the time, but there have been few such signs this year. This street is regarded as a prime location in Wuhan, Zhu added. There is no one around right now. Other locations, you can imagine, are even worse. The only queue within a few hundred meters was outside a pharmacy, where people waited to stock up on medications to treat COVID-19 symptoms. My business is struggling to stay afloat, said the owner of a bag shop on nearby Hanzheng Street, which houses one of China's largest wholesale clothing markets and was the site of a large anti-lockdown protest last month. "We'll see what happens next year," the 48-year-old, surnamed Liang, added. "We'll have to wait and see how many people come. If things remain the same next year, vendors will be forced to leave." Many other store owners simply told Reuters that they had no business. Customer shortages are having a knock-on effect on other industries, slowing growth as China faces an economic downturn this year. "There aren't many new stores opening, and there aren't many new businesses starting, so our business can't get going, and we're facing layoffs," said Huang, the owner of an advertising firm who requested anonymity. "People simply do not have much money anymore," according to a taxi driver named Sun in Wuhan, who added that subsidies had made the 2020 lockdown more manageable than this year's measures. "I've earned nothing for weeks because of all these lockdowns," he said. "Things are a little better now, but I can only make enough to pay back the company for my monthly taxi rental fee." According to surveys, factory activity fell in November amid widespread COVID restrictions, while exports and imports fell at their fastest rate in at least 2.5 years, putting additional strain on the slowing economy. According to Jiwu Chen, a finance professor at the University of Hong Kong, authorities hoped the infections would generate enough immunity within 3 or 4 months, allowing small and medium-sized businesses to recover.